Hi there. Thank you for tuning in. I am Shirley Magazi. In exactly 8 days, we will be inaugurating the first female president of the Republic of Namibia. Exciting times that we are in. The purpose of really doing this is really for us to understand the times that we are in, as well as what her assignment is. We are about to witness the inauguration of the first female president of the Republic of Namibia. Let's forget lies behind us. Let's look at what lies ahead of us. And I really pray that you would find it in your hearts to let go. I think as a nation we've learned quite a lot in terms of what transpired. Was it good? No, it was not. Was it chaotic? Yes, it was. Um, do we have a president? Yes, we do have. Issue from God, I believe 100% that she is. And this is really the purpose why I'm doing this. Especially for the church to understand. Because equally the church has been divided on this matter. But we must understand it is unto man to plan. The answer comes from the Lord. And you might be asking yourself, is this really the answer from the Lord? Well, I want to take you through a journey. I'm going to take you through a journey that started in 2018 with this president-elect. Not that I know her personally, but a journey that I undertook with the Lord. When He told me in 2018, and I recall vividly, it was in Swakopmund in my mother's room. And the Lord said, Shirley, the new president, I'm confirming that it is Netumbo, Nandi-Ndaitwah. Well, it wasn't the first time that God talks to me about a president. And so when the Lord then told me about President-elect Netumbo, I wasn't surprised because then when he told me in 1996 about our late President Hage Geingob, God bless his soul, it was like, oh, wow, tell that to any person and they would have said, surely not in your wildest imagination would this take place. And I recall that when our founding father, late President Sam Nujoma, when his term ended, his third term, and President Pohamba came on, I was like, Lord, you see, it's not going to happen. And 2015 came. And that which the Lord had told me, that was 2015 to 1996, that which the Lord had told me years before, I think 19 years before he would become president, finally, we were witnessing it. It was a very sober moment. That's why I love the late president so much. I just built that connection with him after the Lord had told me in 1996 that he would be president as a young child. And so he has been very dear to me. I also do recall that in 2021, the Lord told me that he would not complete his term. And it wasn't easy to take because remember, I built this connection with this person simply because the Lord had told me he was going to be president. So he was always very dear to me. So in 2021, when the Lord told me that he wasn't going to finish his term, there were several things why I wasn't going to finish his term and so forth. And I ever since prayed about it. And so fast forward 2024, he's not going to make it. That word immediately came back that he would not finish his term. And that's why when that came, it was one of those. But I still believe God gave him that honor. I've said it on so many platforms. Let me not go back into that. Let's come to 2018. So the Lord tells me, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah was going to be president. And I'm like, okay, Lord, let's start praying into this. So I've been praying for her ever since 2018 when the Lord told me that. And so in 2022, and that's a word that I'm going to share. In 2022, the 23rd of November, God gave me a word of her mandate and assignment for when she becomes president. And 2023, the Lord in October said, Shirley, her appointment is not secured. I want you to pray. Secure her appointment. The first thing he said first was that her life is in danger, and I need you to cover her and pray for her. And then the second thing was that her appointment is not secured. You've got to pray for her appointment. And so I recall that we started praying for her as a church. And we have ever since been praying for her. We erected a national altar just to pray for her and to secure her appointment, to secure her seat and to secure her tenure. And that's why I am so certain that this is from the Lord. And I want to say, and I want really to say to our president, you were elected not by the people, but by God. God placed you in this position. And so in January, the 3rd, the Lord tells me, shows me that the presidential seat is open. I remember I told some few intercessors, I'm like, guys, we need to pray that the presidential seat is open. And that's definitely not a good sign, presidential seat being open. That would mean obviously the current president is not there. The one that is supposed to take over is also not there. So what do? We started praying. And so we prayed. January came. I was very clear, very certain the late was not going to make it. And so February comes and we hear the news, and it was, I told you. So make sure that the nation understands that the nation is in a transition. And you've got to pray for your transitional president. And so at this point, I really want to say, Your Excellency, Dr. Nangola Bumba, thank you for serving the nation of Namibia in such a gentle manner. We will always remember you for the incredible work that you have done. I, in particular, would remember you as the president that had the courage to sign the bill, the Marriage Act that defines spouse to be between two persons of opposite sex. You had the courage to do the right thing. And Namibia salutes you for that. So, Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for serving Namibia. Thank you for your gentleness. Indeed, a true statesman you were. Never thought that you'd be president, but the Lord saw it fit, put you in that position. And indeed, you fulfilled your position and your assignment excellently well. And now we are ready for the president, the first female president of the Republic of Namibia. Welcome on board now. This is dedicated to you for the purposes of us understanding where we are as a nation. And so what I'll do is I'll do an exposition of the word that the Lord gave me on the 23rd of November 2022 at exactly 6:47 in the morning. Now on other platforms I've said 6:45 because it's just closer to that, but it was exactly 6:47. And what I love about iPhone, iPad, it keeps the date there. So the evidence is there. The evidence 23rd November 2022 06:47. That's what I love about this. So everything that the Lord normally gives me, I make sure I put it down either on my iPad or my iPhone so that it captures the exact date. I recall it was in March uh, 2024 last year that I publicly came out to tell the nation and the church actually that our next president was going to be Her Excellency President-elect Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. And I said it, and I said it very boldly, and I said that if she is not to make it, the church would have failed her. And the assignment of the church was to usher her in and to really secure her appointment and her tenure. And I recall that I was called because people got a hold of that recording, and they started rumors that I was campaigning for her and all sorts of things. And I want to just say it and make it categorically clear that as a messenger of the Lord, your assignment is just simply to say what you are hearing. And this video is not politically motivated. It is just me being a servant of the Lord, a messenger of the Lord that hears from the Lord like anyone else hears from the Lord, who is courageous and bold enough just to say it as it is. It may backfire. I recall when I was asked to last year to give a tribute to the late, and I said it out there. I said it. Look, 1996, the Lord said He was going to be in. 2021, the Lord said He wasn't going to finish His term, and here we are today. And someone called me and said, "Shucks, only you can do this. Eh? You are so bold to say things as it is." Well, somebody has to say it because the Lord still speaks. And He speaks to His servants. And the Bible says that He will do nothing without first making it known to His prophets, His servants. So here I am, just saying it as it is. The Lord did appoint Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, is appointed by the Lord for the Republic of Namibia for a time such as this. Now, whether you agree with it or not is really immaterial. The appointment of the Lord is from Him. His counsel shall stand, and He doesn't need you to agree with it. Okay, so if you're a servant of God and you're like, but look at how the elections were, and look at and what, that's besides the point. You should know that she has been put in that presidential seat by God. Does she meet your criteria? Perhaps not. She meets God's criteria. And that is what is most important. And it saddens me when I see particularly the church not being able to discern times and to hear from the Lord and to know what we ought to do in times such as that. I took time to do this video. I wanted to do it last year, but it was very tense last year, politically very, very tense, and I did not want this to be misinterpreted. And I was very saddened and burdened in my spirit to see even the church swept under the political climate. As a church, we have a mandate, and one of our mandates, we should know the direction the Lord is taking. And we are supposed to guide the nation in terms of the direction that needs to be taken. Will she make mistakes? She's human, just like you and I. We all are human. We all make mistakes. And what is our role? To overlook a mistake? Certainly not. We call it out for what it is. And we bring it to the attention. And we ask for it to be rectified. And we move on. We move on. And there's so many examples. If we have to take Saul, for example, Saul, the Israelites wanted a king. And God gave them Saul. Did Saul mess up? Oh, yes. Even to such a point where the Lord rejected Saul, the very same person that He chose for the Israelites is the very same person that He rejected. So what does that mean? Just because you are appointed into a position doesn't mean that you are exempted from human failure. Yes, you will make mistakes. And could you miss the Lord? Yes, you can. So yes, I'm saying all of that to say that just because the Lord appointed her does not mean that she is exempted from making mistakes and that she is no longer human. We will not all be happy with the decisions that she will make. I, in particular, may also not be happy with decisions that she will make, but that does not invalidate the fact that she is the chosen of the Lord for a time such as this. I also heard people say, no, we need some young blood and everything, and I certainly agree with it, but as a nation, we're not ready for it. And I believe God is giving us, and us these 5 years, to prepare within these 5 years for the next generation, a younger generation, to take over. And that primarily is the responsibility of the church. Build the next generation now. Prepare them for office. A generation of an upright heart, upright character, integral, that have the wisdom from above, that fears the Lord, that will not be in it for themselves, but will be in it understanding that this is an assignment and they have a responsibility and are prepared to be held accountable. That's the role of the church. And so, as a church, if we do not do our part, we are holding back the nation. And so the Lord is giving us time. Start now for the future. Let me come to the real purpose of this video. Have an ear to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. Be in tune and inclined with the Spirit of God. Step out of your carnality. Step out of your carnality and tune into the Spirit and align yourself with what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. I'm speaking as a voice. And I know there'll be those that will ask, so who called you to do that? And such petty stuff. Let's grow up. It's the year 2025. Let's run. Let's run. May be part of those that make things happen and not ask why it happened and who made it happen and what happened. Be part of those that make things happen. So I'm going to do an exposition of this. And what I'll do is um, I'll read a part of it and then I'll make some explanations and then go to the next part of it. What I will do is I may not read the entire passage because some of the words are particularly for the president and not for public consumption, I suppose. And then I'll read the part that is for public consumption that the Lord gave. So on the 23rd of November 2022 at 6:47 in the morning, I wrote here the word for the incoming president. And I start to read, quote, upon you I place the grace for the continent of Africa. Not only will you be a national president, but you shall be a continental president. I am looking for one that will save the continent of Africa and lead her out of the clutches of bondage and slavery, unquote. And so I believe what this is referring to is not that we're going to have a new position called continental president. It's figuratively speaking that the Lord has given a twofold assignment for the nation of Namibia as well as for the continent. And I think very clear in this is that the Lord speaking, saying He is the one that is placing her, the grace for her, for the continent of Africa. And so I think it's important for us to know that our president will be making headlines on the continent of Africa. The Lord is giving her an assignment for the continent as well, and to lead the continent of Africa into her promise. So it's not just looking at the nation, but also at the continent. You will have a voice, you will have influence on the continent. And so that is certainly something that we can expect. And clearly, the Lord wants to do something on the continent of Africa, that is looking for one that will save the continent out of her bondage and slavery. And we know the enslavement of Africa to the Western world. And that's why I am also one of those ones that are grateful for what President Trump has said. And let me perhaps just pause here and just say that in December, my son was telling me when President Trump was elected, do you remember the word that you gave? And I said, what? The word that you gave, where you said that President Trump is going to come back. He may have lost it now, but he's going to come back. Look, he has come back. And so, yeah, I'm saying all of this just to let us know that God does speak. And that does not mean that everything that a president does, like I said earlier on, would be God ordained. They are human and they can miss it. And that is why they need spiritual advisors to help them to navigate the spiritual terrain. Presidency is more for spiritual terrain than it is of a political terrain. And I continue reading, quote, your assignment is twofold, national and continental, to bring correction and reformation in your nation and the continent of Africa, unquote. Woo! Netumbo, you've got a huge assignment. God's not going to let go of a nation because of an individual. He's not going to let go of a promise because of a personality. A promise is bigger than a personality. So if a personality does not align with what God has for the time and season, the Lord is then obliged to act. So equally, Madam President, do your assignment or God steps in. That's just how it works. The nation, the assignment is bigger than you. Assignment, the mandate is bigger than you. And when one does not toe with the assignment, God is a just God. He then has to act. And so the assignment is to bring correction and reformation in Namibia and the continent of Africa. That's a huge assignment that requires us to be sensitive. And if one brings correction, and I actually just really want to lay it out there, and let's get to the definition of correction, because if you are to bring correction, you will step on people's toes, because not everyone likes correction. Correction brings discipline. It's a process of disciplining. So to bring correction, I can already tell you, Madam President, and the nation, that it's not going to be a pretty one. But someone has to do it, and God chose this president to do it. Correction speaks of the process of correcting something, to rectify something, to change error and inaccuracy. It introduces an amended version, and it really is to put things right, to make amends, to modify, to remedy. So, of the actions that our president-elect will be taking, and decisions that she will be taking, they will be necessary decisions to bring correction and accuracy and alignment with what needs, with the purposes of the Lord. And things that have gone wrong and that were swept under the carpet are going to come on the surface, and her assignment was to bring correction, to make right, to set things right, to rectify things. And so please, I'm saying it out there already, Because Madam Netumbo, your assignment is not to please people. And please hear me right, nation of Namibia. Don't expect it to please people. Not even the church. And I'm coming to the church. I'm coming to us as a church because if we miss it, generations to come are going to look at us and say, what did you do within that season, within that era? And so she's going to bring adjustments. She's going to fix things. She's going to readjust things. That is her assignment. She's going to bring correction. And for us in church, we know what assignment that is. It is prophets and apostles bring correction. And so she is going to bring correction, and it's not going to be pretty. God didn't bring her in this position to look pretty. You may not like a dressing style, or no, it's not about that. It's about the assignment that she is to fulfill. And so let's fix our eyes on the bigger picture. And I'm really appealing to the nation of Namibia, and even within the SWAPO political party. Let me speak to you, okay? That don't expect her to give favors just because you campaigned for her, just because you mobilized the masses. She owes you nothing. You were a vessel that you were used by God to bring her there. And so this thing must stop. Of because I campaigned for you, now you owe me. She owes nobody nothing. Yes, I said it. She owes nobody nothing. She is there on assignment, and we must correct things that have been going wrong in this nation. And God has chosen her to do that. So I honestly, I plead with you. I hope you will get this recording, Madam President. Know your assignment. You know, you've got what it takes to make the tough decisions. God's going to direct you. He's going to guide you. But know that correction is one of the assignments that God has for you. Let's define the word reformation. Let's look at its definition, because that is the second part that it spoke of, reformation. And reformation is defined as the action or process of reforming an institution. So we need to know what reforming an institution is. It's making changes in order to improve it. It is to improve and to better it. It is to relinquish it from. It is to cause to relinquish an immoral, criminal, or self-destructive lifestyle. It is to relinquish an immoral, criminal, or self-destructive lifestyle. So there's a lot of rectification, mending, and reforming, improving, and redesigning and reworking that we can expect to happen through the administration and the tenure of Madam Her Excellency President-elect Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. So, what can we expect? Correction, reformation. Correct yourself before you get corrected. Let me go back to the word. And so I quote, I put upon you the mantle of accuracy, dominion, and power. Like a double-edged sword, you shall bring order. What your predecessor was unable to do, you shall accomplish. Unquote. And it's interesting that it says, like a double-edged sword, you shall bring order, because a double-edged sword has two sides. So as she's bringing order, the part that is going to pain us and is going to be hurtful, at the same time, it's going to bring healing. It is going to restore. it is going to bring wholeness. So if we get fixated only on the sharp part of the sword and the pain that it's going to bring because of the order that comes with it, we would be very negative and we will tend to criticize her quite a lot. But then it calls for you and I to also look at that order is supposed to bring restoration. It is supposed to bring healing. It is supposed to nurture the nation. It is supposed to bring wholeness and completeness. And it's supposed to birth something new. And so it requires of you and I to constantly, whenever during this time that Netumbo is going to lead us and govern us, we need to see her through two eyes. The lady that brings order, but the lady that is also restoring through her order. It is twofold. And so it is important for us to really appreciate what is going to come. No one likes discipline at the time. When you discipline a child, you're not disciplining the child just for the now, it's for the future. And you and I are products of our parents that disciplined us. Had it not been for the discipline of our parents, we would not be here where we are today. So we can expect to go through a period of discipline as a nation, but it's for the greater good. And it's not, I said it and I'll say it again, it's not going to be pretty. Please, let's not expect it to be pleasing us. Let her do what needs to be done. We're going to thank her later. And so, it's accuracy, dominion, power to bring order, what your predecessor was unable to do. You will accomplish. 4 presidents have gone ahead of her. And now she's the 5th. And come on, church, we know what it is. 5 speaks of grace. And it's interesting here that the Lord says, I have graced you. I'm placing upon you grace. And so upon you, Netumbo, is going to be grace upon grace, grace upon grace. Quote, upon you, I bring a culmination of power and wisdom. Wisdom shall be the scepter of your rule and reign. I shall order your steps, for I am the one who places you in office to do my will. Unquote. Wow. A culmination of power and wisdom. I want to submit to you that our president is going to, a solid foundation has been laid for her presidency. She's the first president that is going to lead without the presence of our founding father. That in itself is huge, and I guess it's for another day. I won't go into it. The foundation, a solid foundation, has been laid. And the culmination of all those 4 presidents, power and wisdom is what the Lord is giving unto her. So we can expect a administration of wisdom. What is wisdom? It is Mike Murdoch that says wisdom is the ability to recognize differences in people, differences in situations, differences in circumstances, differences in office, in assignment, differences in time, differences in seasons. And so I want to add to that wisdom is the application of knowledge. You may know the know-how, but wisdom is what puts it in action. And so we can expect a lot of action that will be taking place, not just mere talk, a lot of application. We can expect a lot of implementation that will be taking place. This administration is going to call us to action. It will be a time to act. And all of this obviously is conditional. This is the expectation of the Lord, but it's conditional. conditional to our obedience. That's always a thing with a prophecy. Prophecy is always conditional. You're a wise woman, and more wisdom will be given to her. My prayer is just that the people that will surround you will equally be people of wisdom, that won't break you down, that will build you. He says, "You will order your steps, for I am the one who places you in office to do my will." This is so key. This is so key. Not to do the will of some political party. Now, I'm going to be very hard and frank. And I think as a nation, we need this. To want to say that, Madam President, and as a nation that we can, that is the line that we should be praying for, that she won't necessarily toe the lines of the party. She'll toe the lines of God, of the will of God. And at times it could go contrary to the expectations of people, because it is not what the people are saying, but it is what the will of God is, and God is going to direct her and guide her. And so in him directing and guide her, and every time God does that, it's not popular. So her assignment is not an assignment of popularity. So her assignment is not to win favor. And I think I said it before. Her assignment is simply just to do the will of God. What is the will of God? And I think in this we will get somewhere about the will of God. But clearly what the will of God is, from what we've already read so far, is order, correction, reformation. Namibia and for the continent of Africa. And it's interesting, especially for those that are very prophetically inclined and that have heard the prophecies. And I think I also mentioned some of those words, gave those words in 2020 about the tables that are turning. Yes, I did give a prophetic word like that in 2020, that the tables are turning for the continent of Africa. And we are entering, as a continent of Africa, that we're entering into a time where our statesmen need to understand what time we are in, because it's not a time to beg, but it is a time where we negotiate not on the terms of the Western world, but on our terms, because the tables have turned. And so we need to see the connection that the Lord is bringing here between Namibia and Africa. And I really believe that Namibia is the nation that the Lord has selected in this time, because, and I've said it before, it was supposed to be the country of South Africa, but they've missed their time. The Lord is giving Namibia this opportunity that we to birth the revival of the continent of Africa, and that from this nation, a light is going to shine to the rest of the continent of Africa, because her time has come. And I honestly believe that this is where the Lord is positioning our president, that she's going to play a critical role for the continent of Africa from the place of Namibia. We're going to see greater significance coming to the nation of Namibia for the continent of Africa. And we're going to see the rise of Namibia with a greater voice of authority, with a greater voice of clarity, with a greater voice of accuracy, and with a greater voice of influence and stewardship for the continent of Africa. And I really believe that that is what the Lord is going to bring through this president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. It's a very critical time that we are in. And so Namibia is going to play a greater role on the continent of Africa. They will come to Namibia for advice. They're going to seek counsel from Namibia at a greater level. And so we're going to see the role of Namibia amplified. And we're going to see nations coming to the rise of Namibia. Yeah, I see that. I see that. Let me go back. Let me go back to this. I'm so excited. I can just sense the anointing of the Lord right now as I'm talking about this. I love the continent of Africa. I really believe this is the time of Africa. But it requires statesmen and those in power and authority to understand the time and to align themselves correctly. And I quote, you shall, oh, here it comes. Yeah, I quote, you shall cause Africa and your nation to shine. You shall enjoy favor, and many will thank me for raising you up. Unquote. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah. That through her presidency, she's going to cause this nation to shine. Now, this is the month of Adar, according to the Hebrew calendar. The month of Adar happens first in Exodus chapter 11. The last plague that was given to Egypt when the Israelites were still in captivity in Egypt was the plague of darkness. And so go read it, Exodus chapter 11. And so in there, the Bible says that the whole of Egypt was covered with darkness, but upon the Israelites that were living in Egypt, there was light. Okay. And so one of the things that we can extract from there is that the month of Adar is the month of light. And so when you take that, you then automatically, for those that know the word, you can connect it to Isaiah 60, verse 1. Arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. Now, I believe that in this month of Adar, in the very same month that our president will be inaugurated, and it's always a month that all the presidents get inaugurated, but I believe this month is very special. This time is very special because it ties in with her assignment, is that the glory of the Lord is not only going to come upon her, but it's going to come upon the nation of Namibia and the continent because of the assignment that she carries. You must understand it's your assignment, your purpose is very important. And so things happen because of what you carry. Did you get that? For example, and I know I'm deviating, Joseph carried the assignment of a leader to bring about the counsel of the Lord in the nation of Egypt. And so things were happening to him, because of what he carried. And for example, when he was in Potiphar's house was blessed because of what he carried. He carried favor. And because of that, he was favored. When Potiphar enjoyed the favor of the grace that was upon Joseph's life, he enjoyed it. So what am I saying? Because of what the grace that is upon our president-elect, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, because of the grace that is upon her, and because of what she carries, and because of her assignment, as a nation, we're going to come under that grace, and so we too will enjoy the grace that is upon her, simply because she is the one that is in power. And because her assignment is continental as well as national, as a nation, we will enjoy the continental grace as well. And that is why Namibia at this time is going to shine, because of the continental grace that the Lord has placed upon our president. We are entering into incredible times, but I don't want to go ahead of myself. All I'm saying, this is Namibia's time. This is Africa's time. And we have a woman that has been put in power to bring this about. May we join hands with her to bring this about. And I quote, I will surround you with good and godly counsel that will protect your seat, and reign. Unquote. I'm not going to read the other part of it because that is really just for her. This also gives guideline for the intercessors on how to pray and on how to pray for her. Now, I must just mention this one thing, particularly for someone like myself that hears from the Lord, that flows in the prophetic. I know God has told me many times that I have no right to an opinion. So when I see certain things happen, particularly in the political front, and that's why I refrained completely from the election time and all the stuff that were happening. I was very careful not to say anything because I know that for me, and I'm not saying that it's for every other person, but for me particularly, God has said, you don't have an opinion. You don't have a right to an opinion. I'm taking your right for an opinion away. And why is that so? It's because when you speak, and especially when you flow in the prophetic, people can mistake your opinion for what God is saying. And so I constantly discipline myself not to give an opinion on something, just for the mere fact that I don't want to put myself in that space and mishearing what the Lord is saying. Yeah, and that is why this whole month of March, I have really been, this whole year, I've been low key, because I needed to be very clear in terms of what the Lord is saying. And if you're there and you are like, these prophetic stuff, no, prophecies from the Lord. It may have been corrupted. Man may have corrupted it. But just simply because something has been corrupted doesn't mean that the Lord still does not make use of it, because He's the one that births it. And so it is important for us to differentiate and to have discernment and use the scriptures to discern what spirit is speaking. And so I want to encourage you, don't treat this with contempt. Don't discard this or disregard it because simply you have been a victim of the prophetic and because of everything else that goes in with that. God still speaks. And I'm just simply giving what God is saying. And I've said it on different platforms. A prophet must be judged. And I've given you examples of prophetic words that the Lord had given me previous presidents that have come to pass. I recall the year 2010, I gave a prophetic word that Namibia was going to experience the worst drought that she's ever experienced before. And in that same year, an article was written that we experienced the worst drought that we've ever heard before. Can I miss it? Of course I can. We're all human. We can miss it. And that's the beautiful. The Lord speaks in parts, and He may have spoken to me just in one part and speaks to another person in another part. But am I sure of what I'm saying? I am sure of what I'm saying as sure as I am, as I know that I am Shirley Magazi. So I'm encouraging you to listen to this with an open heart, an open mind, and judge it. Judge it by the Spirit, not by your own opinions and not by your own understanding. Judge it by the Spirit of God. Quote, "You are my battle axe sword. Through you I will crush. Through you I will raise up. You are a Moses that will free Namibia and Africa from neocolonialism and imperialism. You are a leader of leaders, and I shall raise you up." Unquote. You are the Lord's battle axe. Sure, you've got to understand what this means. Battle axe does the hard work, chops off that which should no longer be. Her assignment is not easy. That's what I really want to communicate to the public, to the body of Christ. Her assignment is not easy. And I actually forgot to mention there where it says, she's going to bring order. That is a warning to the church that as a church, you are not exempted from the order that is going to come by her hands. You had a time, and perhaps still have a time, to bring your house in order. And as a church of Namibia, we will not be spared by the order that will come through. So yes, the Lord will use her to bring order, even in the church, in all sectors, She is the president. And I really just pray, you servants of God, children of God, the church, take your emotions out of this. Let's go back to the Bible. And I'm saying it again. This is the appointed president by God. Assignment is to bring correction. Assignment is to bring order and reformation. I'm saying it, the church will not be spared. Equally for the nation of Namibia, judicial correction will come. Legislature correction will come. Executive correction will come. This president will bring order. Political correction will come. Economic correction will come. Human rights correction will come. In every space, correction will come. The order of the Lord will be established. Will we all be affected? Yes, we will. Will it be nice? No, it won't. Hence, let us do the right thing now. Quote, yours is to lay a solid foundation for the generations to come. This is an era of regeneration, a new Africa, the Africa that they were fearful of. It is time. Quote, unquote. Laying foundation requires a lot of digging. It's messy, very messy. But she's laying the foundation not for the now, it's for the future. I honestly believe this is the last president of an older generation. Younger blood will be coming in. And hers is to lay a solid foundation for younger blood. And I'm being reminded actually of a scripture that talks of building your house upon the rock, Jesus Christ. Solid foundation. Solid foundation. Wow. So that could possibly mean her laying a solid foundation is really going to the roots of this nation. Christ being at the center of it all. Solid means a firm and stable shape, having three, dimensions. We know three, the Trinity. We're also looking at, and I'm thinking of three equally as looking at the three organs of state that I believe can be solidified to be able to work properly together. As a matter of fact, I actually had put up here one of possible agendas that comes out of this, that there would need to be clear separation of power between government and parliament. I think we would possibly start seeing that. Somehow, it could be that we will start seeing some separation of power there, so that government is government, or the executive is executive, and parliament is parliament. I also wrote here another agenda. This is not the word, it's just my interpretation of it. There needs to be a clear differentiation between the party and the government. And this speaks of the ruling party, that there needs to be a clear differentiation between the ruling party and government, that it should not all be one big pot, but there must be differentiation. That is just one of my interpretations of when I was reflecting on this, that perhaps we could be seeing in this administration, especially when it speaks of solid having three dimensions, able to operate separately yet in congruence to build the nation. I really just want to say for the party, the Swapo party, it's about the nation, not about a party. And even for other political parties, it's about a nation, not about a party. The party is just the vehicle being used to get leaders in power for the nation. And so the first loyalty should be to the nation, not to a party. And I know I'm stepping on sensitive ground, but I think it is time that we need to start seeing separation between politics and nation building. Namibia has come of age. Our loyalty should be to our nation, not to our parties. And that is a spirit we should go for, so that whoever wins, it's a win for the nation, not a win for a party. It's a win for a nation. It calls for maturity. We are entering into an era of regeneration. And when we look at the word regenerating, it's a process of regeneration. And regeneration speaks of growing after loss or damage, to grow again, to bring new and more vigorous life, to revive, especially in economic terms, to bring into renewed existence, to generate again, to give a new and higher spiritual nature to. So it is to renew, it is to restore, it is to revitalize. And that's the era that Namibia is entering into, as well as Africa. I don't want to forget Africa. It's a new Africa we are about to see. It's a new Namibia we are about to see. And this matriarch, with the natural grace of birthing, it's going to birth us into that. It's matriarchs that bring alive. And so this matriarch is going to birth a new generation, a new Namibia. The Lord's going to use it to birth a new Africa, to influence it, to get to where she needs to be. And so the Lord is using someone that has been tested, someone that has passed the test of time. And I'm going to do an analogy here, and in all due respect of it. Best wine, I understand, is mature wine. The longer wine stays, the more mature it becomes and the better it is. And this is especially for the younger generation to understand. There's a role that I believe the Lord is fulfilling in this president. Mature wine that will be poured into new wine skin. It calls for the younger generation to learn from the older generation, not to repeat the same mistakes, but to understand where the future is headed, align themselves accurately and correctly, and allow mature wisdom to be poured into them. The new generation being the new wine skin, but the wine being mature wine. This, I believe, is where Namibia is. In a time when mature wine is to be poured out into new wine skin. And so, my belief for our president, for the nation of Namibia, this is the time for us to identify the next generation that will take over and put in place mechanisms and strategies for the mature wife to be poured into them. Wisdom comes with age, and it is critical. And we are fortunate that we have this. Let's make use of it while they are still there. This brings me to the end of the exposition of this word that the Lord had given me on the 23rd of November 2022 at exactly 6:47 in the morning. A word given for the incoming president, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. Let me at this given time congratulate you, Madam President. Your assignment is not an easy one, but it's a necessary one for the nation of Namibia. To the church, I would want to say, may we align with the word of the Lord. Let us put aside our own opinions. May we discern the time that Namibia is in. We are being ushered on the 21st of March into an era of regeneration, to grow into the promises and fulfillment of the Word of God for the nation. I want to say God plays a critical role in this nation. We cannot extinguish the role that God plays in this nation. Our Christian faith will be more needed in this time than ever before. Let our faith in Christ be the solid foundation upon which this nation is continuing to be built. The regeneration of Namibia. As a church, you have a vital role to play. Remember, the assignment is to put in order. Bring correction now in the house of the Lord before she has to do it. To the nation at large, the female president that you have, it's supposed to be an exciting time, a matriarch. Deborah arose as a mother of Israel. She is rising up on the 21st of March as a mother of the nation. Forever will she be remembered as the first matriarch of the nation. First presidential matriarch. To God be the glory. May we take hands. Let's build our nation. Let's put aside our differences. And let's work towards the building of this nation. To the glory of God. Let's put aside the political differences and whatever the elections were. Do we condone inefficiency? No, not at all. We are where we are today. Knowing with certainty and confidence that she is the one that's supposed to do this. It is what it is. Accept it. Let's run with it. God bless the nation of Namibia. God bless you, Madam President. God bless the Church of Namibia. Thank you for watching and listening to this. God bless you.